My friend, come, take a seat. I have so many things to tell you, so many new ideas to share. Let's get going.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Okay, so it seems pretty clear now that the Backrooms are just a brain, right? But whose brain? I mean, think about the voiceovers and the dialogue about memory, brain function, trauma, the habits, and the neural pathways that we form. And also, why is it that the company that discovered the Backrooms and could first access them were previously an MRI company? That's the only way to access a living person's brain. Important thing to think about there. The relationship of the complex to negative emotional experiences, the connections of the life forms to trauma, and so on. There's just so much juicy material to dig into there, and I really want to crack this thing open, so let's just dive right in, man. Entities. I've been really trying to do some thinking to understand the meaning behind this film. You know, I made that Backrooms kind of theory video a couple weeks ago where I thought allegorically Kane's version of the Backrooms represented cognitive decline, or dementia in a word. For now, I think I can still stand by that theory from what we've, the new information here. But as soon as we get information like pulling me in another direction, I'll happily reassess. I'm never married to any idea, when more information kind of comes to light that says otherwise. That being said, with the information we got from this movie, it does seem like there's a little bit more to digest here that might put a new spin on things. My best take on the ending of the film is that the entities represent trauma, more or less. Like the Backrooms only seems to be copying the trauma from the real people for the most part. For example, we see that redheaded still life, right? The way she ran away screaming when Pirate Clark came into the room at the climax, while also knowing that still life looked a lot like Clark's ex-wife, made me think that entity just represented his wife's traumatic experience, dealing with Clark's toxicity. And of course, Pirate Clark representing Clark's trauma and toxicity. I remember as he's explaining why the still life, are there to Mary, he explains the other two just fine. And then he looks at the redhead, he looks down and says absolutely nothing. Even at the end of the film, we're shown that the Backrooms is starting to copy Mary's trauma as well, like her childhood home being demolished and all that stuff, right? So it seems pretty clear to me that that's what these things are representing here. The characters. So we have Mary, right? Mary wanted to save everybody, but realized that she couldn't and grew as a person at the climax of the film. After Clark's death, while Mary was being chased by Pirate Clark, she specifically defeated Pirate Clark by smashing his head with that concrete, handprint from her childhood home. This very clearly to me showed her character's growth metaphorically by letting go of the past and embracing those choices that she made, as the person she's been. And that choice more or less allows her to escape her pursuer. Quick side note on Mary, it was really cool how they demo Mary's house, when she's an adult, which obviously represents her trauma. And they demo it to make room for a new developer's, condominium complex, which I love that it was called Reverchon Condominiums, to reference his Oldest View series. But if you think of the new development as new memories, new rooms for new memories to be created, then it's interesting that she clings on to that last piece of the trauma, that handprint in the cement. Even though it's a positive memory, it's inherently linked to that trauma. And she doesn't fully let go of that until the climax, and in turn fully let go of the traumatic memory and move forward. I just love how all that ties in with the idea and the theme of the Backrooms. The allegory sauce here is just so fucking unreal, dude. Jesus Christ, it's so good. The furthest he ever gets from his starting point in the film is deciding that he doesn't want to change. He just went in a big circle. He'd like to stay right where he is, as he says. It all makes me wonder, if the Backrooms represent a brain, and the film spoke so much, about mental health, is Clark's demise, his demented form of eating himself alive, a metaphor for losing his battle with mental health maybe? If Pirate Clark, is clearly his trauma or shame, so on, are we just simply seeing his trauma winning? Both Clark and Mary seem to find acceptance in the climax, but the difference being that Clark, speaking to his trauma says, we don't have to change, going nowhere with it. And Mary realizes that she had to let go and move on. therefore more or less finding her way out of the labyrinth that is the Backrooms. All of that makes me wonder, why does it only seem to copy, at least mostly, negativity from Clark's life, until we get to the end of the movie where we get more from Mary? The store and surrounding areas slowly being copied makes a lot of sense, since the null zone, the bridge between both worlds, is in Clark's store. But when it comes to the bad copies, the poorly made copies of humans, why does it all surround Clark? For the same reason, maybe? That idea also begs the question of why were the other two still lives copied? It doesn't seem that they were related to Clark in any way, so there's more to unpack there, more to dig into. I'd love to hear what you think about that one, because that one stumped me a little bit. Async. I found Phil's monologue so interesting at the end of the film. It instantly felt like there was so much to pull from that one scene. The way he came across almost like an addict or something. He's like, we go in every day just so we can maybe learn a little bit more. He's so passionate, almost enchanted about it. Also, that MRI scan at the end of the movie looks just like when the Backrooms map is populating. I think it's in First Contact after the portal opens. I feel like that's just more evidence that it's a brain. I'm curious if anyone else noticed that. That one popped right out at me. I missed certain other things that everybody else caught, but that one I was just like, oh my God, that's gotta be a reference to that. The way it scans and populates, it looks exactly the same. The green light. This one's weird, right? It has to be new rooms being created, no? The new neural pathways being formed, maybe the brain trying to break those habits that we use to protect ourselves, as she references in her opening monologue. It definitely resembles neurons, in my opinion, with the electricity and so on, but the green could very well be connected to what green normally symbolizes in film language, right? It could symbolize either life or rebirth, nature, sickness too, but most importantly, it often represents healing. So what if it's showing us, like I said, those new neural pathways being formed, those loops that Mary speaks about being broken, that brain that the Backrooms is healing as it relates to whoever the Backrooms are copying in a given area. When we see it, if I remember correctly, it's when Mary's escaping after the climax, after she's made that connection, right? So she's broken her loop, you could say, where she's like, I can't help people, and she lets go of her trauma until the last moment where she really lets go and she smashes against Pirate Clark's head. But yeah, I think that's when she sees it for the first time, and when we see it in the film for the first time, she looks to the side as she's escaping Pirate Clark. So yeah, I don't know, thought that was kind of interesting. I haven't gone back to dig into everywhere we've seen the green light in the past yet, but maybe one of you guys can chime in the comments and let me know if you think I could be on the right path on this one. So after all that, I'm still left wondering if the Backrooms is a physical representation of a brain. Whose fucking brain is it? I have no idea. Is it one person's brain? Is it an amalgamation of a bunch of people's brains? Maybe each area copying the brain of whoever is spending the most time closest to the null zones, or later enters them and spends time in there. That might make sense, right? Or maybe Ivan Beck is the protagonist and antagonist, as Kane has said, of the Async YouTube storyline, because it's copying his brain around the Async portal, their entrance, right? I don't know, just trying to tie those things together there. It's almost like it picked him when the Backrooms was initially opened, which kind of made him the initial antagonist / protagonist. Maybe Clark and later Mary are the protagonists of this movie because, first Clark is closest to the null zone, spends all his time there, and later Clark and Mary, spend so much time inside the complex. I don't know. We see the complex copying more and more of their lives, at the end of the film, so could tie into them spending so much time there. But that comes back to, what is the source of the brain? Like, why is it copying and creating? Is it a new universe being formed, which we don't really know the rules of, and it just copies whatever it has access to? I don't know. We know that Kane talks about quantum physics and stuff like that, so there very well could be some thread to pull on there. It'll take more time to think about that, but I do think that's probably an investigation for a different day, my friends. Something I really respect and appreciate about Kane is the depth of his thought. from a young age, it seems like he's been, asking himself these more profound questions about life and existence and reality, even quantum physics and the human experience. When I was younger, I was very much so somewhat similar to him. I can't speak for him as to, of course, it might not be the same as it was for me, but I know that that depth of thought for me came, that existentialism came from unpleasant experiences as a kid. Those kinds of experiences make you grow up real fast a lot of the time. I always had, great friends and great family around me, but like when it came to those thoughts, I always found them very lonely, you could say. I noticed that most people didn't think about these things, at least to the depth that I did. They didn't really spend their time in these, honestly, potentially dangerous places, for your mental health. Existentialism can for sure do a number on your brain. Having that like depth of thought at such a young age, especially, can be like such a blessing and such a curse. The difference between Kane and I is he took all that energy and all those crazy thoughts and turned them into something super amazing and productive, something incredible for all of us to, come together around, really. What a fucking awesome gift that he's given all of us. It's so cool. At this high moment after this movie's come out, we've all gotten to experience it now, and we all get to theorize about it and think about it. I think back on the YouTube series and like what it's given all of us and the community it's given all of us, and now the movie on top of it. It's really cool, and I really appreciate it. What Kane created here, a world that is simultaneously so fucking entertaining and so full of rich, well thought out mystery that we get to explore, and goes through such deep aspects of the human mind and our experiences, etc. I don't know, I just really appreciate it. I wanted to take a moment to let that show a little. With all this new material to sift through, all these new clues to uncover, I'm dying to hear from you guys now. Like, this is the fun part.
This is where the fun begins.
Am I on the right path? Do you think I got some of the stuff right, but I'm like way off on other stuff? I'm always down in the comments and love to interact with you guys. So I'll see you down there. Stay tuned, my friends. There's much more Backrooms content like this on the way. I appreciate your time. I know it's valuable, so thank you for spending it here with me. And I'll see you for the next one. Thanks again, guys. Bye.